Hey, everybody. How are we? I couldn't help. I knew we were going to have some guests today, so I figured Tejo should have some Christmas cookies. Anyone? No? Okay, more for me. That's fine. How is everybody? You're half asleep? Man, I'm going to have to like relearn all of you because everybody's names are different. Well, not everybody. A lot of you, your names are different. Hey, Sweet Pea. Oh, you're never here. Nice to see you. Well, thank you, Miss Kathy, my Pizza Hutty buddy. Okay. You didn't even get us choose Gimme Biscuit. Well, there's JoJo. Welcome, JoJo. All right, so happy time zone, everybody. Happy Sunday. Thanks to everybody that's joining us. I can see the usual few nonsensicals in the chat. Looks like we got some new peeps as well. First time here, but I watch all reactions and love them. Well, thank you, Joy. I like your name. I'm going to assume that most of you, at least in some capacity, understand why we are here today. And that's probably why you are here. If you're not sure, or you just kind of stumbled in, let me just tell you that today is not a live stream of reactions, okay? This is a discussion. This is a conversation on a topic that has been in the air for quite some time. It has recently gained momentum, which we will discuss. But today is an actual chat between you and I, and you and each other for the most part. So first, let me welcome everybody. I know we got some new people. We got some older people, some first timers. So that being said, let me first kind of introduce myself. I'm Roscoe, and that's all you need to know. You're not, and I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Roscoe, and this YouTube channel is what we call the couch. Because the way that I like to have everything work, it's like you're sitting on the couch with a friend, and you're watching stuff, and you're enjoying things that you enjoy together. That's the couch. That's probably the most simplistic way I could have explained that, but that essentially is us. So welcome to the buddies that are usually here, our lurkers, our workers, our twerkers. I know we have some guests, and I'm going to assume that we're also going to have some, I'll say, baby army. Now, this talk is not necessarily just army or BTS fans. It's really a discussion on fandoms in general, okay? But it will be geared around army for a specific reason. But I feel like the majority of what we're going to discuss will also apply to almost every other fandom that you can really kind of shake a stick at, okay? So for that reason, I want to make it really clear, like, I do mention the baby army specifically because, like Jimmy, are you here? Where's Jimmy the Swede? Jimmy G, is that? Oh, there you are. You're right there. You already said it. Okay, of course. There you are. Now, for clarity's sake, I don't just call people their nationality. Okay, that's actually his name on Twitch. Okay. We got some baby army. We got some toddler army. So as we go through this conversation, okay, I want you to understand the purpose, okay? As I said, these kind of topics that we're going to discuss have been in the air for quite some time. Do I necessarily think that we are going to solve this problem today? I don't. However, the purpose of today is, one, to have the conversation. Have the conversation in a way that I believe, personally, these conversations should take place. Now, the way that I tend to view things, and some of you might kind of maybe relate to this, but if we have a spectrum from all the way over here to all the way over here, and 100% of people are in this spectrum of the conversation today, okay? There's going to be 10% way over here that are set in their ways of how they think. They're not going to move. There's 10% over here that are set in their ways. They're not going to move. But I feel like there's 80% of the people that at least are willing to have the conversation, potentially allow information to make them go, okay, I hadn't really thought of it that way. Okay. And then in some capacity, potentially rearrange some way of how they think. Okay. Yeah. But today's goal is understanding the conversation, and then understanding each other in that conversation. So there are some rules to this. Yes, it is a conversation. You are absolutely allowed and encouraged to have your opinion. But one of the rules we always follow here is that everything needs to stay respectful. You can have your opinion, you can do anything you need to do, but it has to stay respectful. The one thing that I will draw the line on, and the mods are all on board with this, per my instructions as the captain, we can have the conversations, but if somebody comes in and their purpose is very obviously to either distract us or divert us from having this conversation in a productive way, you got to go. Now, you get a warning. We might time you out. If you continue to be an issue, I'll close you down. Okay? This conversation needs to take place in some way. So that's the purpose of today. Okay? Yeah, respect and politeness, very, very straightforward. Very simple. Respect. We don't have to agree on everything. We're not going to, but at least we can hear each other and be respectful. Jake, I heard that. Okay. Oh, you are not going to like this next part. Can I ask, is this a first time for anybody? Oh, this got to be a first time. We got some bigger numbers than usual. Be respectful. We can all disagree. No name calling. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, we do have some first timers. Good. All right. Good deal. Well, welcome. All right. This will not surprise some of you, but oh boy, have I got something for you. I do want to, actually, let me just show you this first. Hopefully chat works. Okay, there's chat. Okay. It should not surprise you that I went hard with this. I went very hard with this. For those of you that are new here, one thing you have to understand, or you should understand about me and kind of how the couch works, is that I need to dissect things to understand them. When we do our music videos and we do album breakdowns, we go deep. We go deep. Now, sometimes we get it wrong. It's all theory crafting. But if you watch kind of how we do things, our intention is to try to find some truth. Now, we might miss the mark. We might let our biases kind of like throw us over here. But we do our best to kind of understand things. All right. Yes, we're going to be pulling out circle charts. Yes. Now, for those of you that don't know, what brought us here? On October 28th of this year, a fellow reactor named Shiki posted a video about how BTS reactors don't care about BTS. They only care about themselves. That was the first kind of shot over the bow. Okay. It started a conversation. Now, there were other pieces that occurred after that point, but that began this reactivation of the conversation. And then on November 13th, Shiki did a live stream where he essentially made a ranked list of reactors and kind of where they fit. It's called a tier list, and it's basically like who gets an A, who gets a B, who gets an F, and so on. And that's kind of what started all of this, okay? Yeah, I want you to understand the context. That's a big part of this. Let me just adjust this a little bit. Once you get, I'm going to get a little more pecs in there for you. Oh, nope. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. Okay. Okay, now, for clarity's sake, our channel was not one of the original ones that were called out by Shiki. Shiki did not really have anything negative to say about me or the channel. So I want you to hear, as I throw some information at you, my position is not a defensive one, okay? Now, I know that's how Shiki feels. He thinks that my intention here is I feel attacked, so I have to defend myself and defend my channel. That is not the case. Now, I also want you to understand, wait, what's what? What's going on? Did I lose you? Offline? We're good? What happened? We're back. Okay. I guess we had a little blip. Sorry about that. Not that I have any control. Ever. YouTube has hiccups. Okay, we're good. So refresh if you need to. Make sure we're... Okay. Okay, a little hiccup. Good to go? Okay. Thank you. Now, I also want you to understand, right now, I am pushing information at you, but I am going to have some questions, okay? This is not like, I think it was Jake that said, it feels like a mission brief. Well, in a way it is, okay? So I just want you to understand that I'm not coming at this as from a defensive point, okay? Our channel was not really called out in a negative way, so understand that my purpose here is to understand some of you, and I also want you to hear some things that I have to say. For full transparency, because I know a lot has happened in the last month or so, after all this occurred, I invited Shiki to have a conversation live on air like this, and he declined. Okay. Now, he had a lot of reasons for doing so, but I don't want you to think that I'm firing at Shiki. Not the case. Okay. I will have things to say regarding that, but this is more about the conversation as a whole. Okay. So my understanding of this conversation about what this reactor presented out on his live stream and in his videos is, and I had to go from memory here, okay? Let me ask you, were any of you in the live stream where Shiki made the tier list of reactors? Okay, there you go. Pamela just answered. I was on the live stream with him and I went toe to toe with him, okay? Some of you were. Okay. Interesting. So the points that I have, because I did get to see some of the live stream, these are from memory because the live streams were all removed from YouTube after my invitation to chat. Okay, so these are from memory. Here is my understanding of what Shiki is presenting into the conversation. His concerns lie with reactors who don't promote voting and streaming, reactors who monetize paid BTS content behind things like Patreon, paywalls, reactors who publish reactions within the first 24 hours, and then reactors who use color-coded lyrics. Okay, so for those of you that were there on the live stream, did I miss anything? Put free stuff through paywall, okay. Run BTS is specifically, okay. Now, I'm curious, is it just run BTS? I know that's usually the content that comes up, but like, is it also like, are you sure? And, you know, bon voyage, right? Other content too. Voting and any free BTS. Okay. But mainly run. Huh. Is there any specific reason that run seems to be the main thing? Yeah, I know not promoting the voting and streaming was a big issue. Yep. Any free BTS stuff that they put out for free that Reactors put behind the paywall. Okay. Got it. Not firewall. Because BTS released Run on YouTube for free last year or 2 years ago. Okay. And any free content. Got it. Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to echo Lilianne's point here. There are many people who are against these points. Now, I'm not exactly sure how you meant that, Lilianne, but I do want to say, I want to make it clear that I'm just using Shiki's points as kind of a framework for this conversation. If you agree with Shiki with all these points, I'm not trying to attack you. Okay. I want to make that really clear. Everybody that's here ideally has the purpose in mind of having this conversation where you can say how you feel about things, I can say how I feel about things, and then we can have an actual conversation. Okay? So I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything, because like I said, this had to kind of go from memory. Okay. Does anyone know if YouTube copyrights run BTS reactions? Ray, I'll tell you what. I don't know if there's a definitive answer, right? Because YouTube's algorithm for copyright claims is so hit or miss between videos, between reactors, between channels. I'm not saying that YouTube is like targeting anybody, but it is a very significant automated system that I don't know if anybody really knows, right? I think where one channel might be able to put some out there with no problems, another channel, they might not pause as much, or somebody might do things that avoid the algorithm from finding it, right? So it's really hard to say. It's very complicated. So Sherry says reactors who monetize free BTS content on Patreon, not so much the paid stuff. Okay. Especially the second one, because they don't agree. Why would reactors make money from others' works just for reaction? Okay. So Kenny says the main thing here is inherently simple. If you react to any piece of media, it should be made with the intent to actually contribute or expand on the themes or topics of such. Kenny, I agree with you. I think that reaction content, for the most part, should have some level of transformative nature. You should be contributing something. However, I think while I agree with that, and clearly you agree with that, not everybody does. Like, some people literally are satisfied watching somebody watch a video they like and clapping and cheering, and then that's the whole thing. Like, that's just, it's people, right? It's people have different standards. I mean, I'll tell you what, my initial channel for a whole year was nothing but BTS. I would watch a 4-minute music video and I would ramble about that video, that one video, for an hour. And so many people hated it because it was too much. That's what I wanted to do. But people wanted like a 7-minute, 8-minute reaction, and then they were done. So yeah, it really does just depend on people, right? Which I do think is part of this conversation. Okay, Tad, that's a bit much. Boy, did he ramble. I wasn't that bad. Yeah, I'm allowed to ramble today. That's it. Woohoo! I did it. I tricked all of you. Oh, Pamela, I remember. I still have it right back there. The Pamelite. Sugar is my pet rock. Pamela, of course I remember. Okay. All right, so I wanted, like I said, I wanted to use this as a framework for how to take the conversation as it was put out into the world, that clearly people are on they're on multiple sides of this. Some people wholeheartedly agree with all of these points. Some people disagree with all of them. Some people kind of like, okay, well, I see this, but I feel differently about this. So the idea is to just kind of like collectively have the conversation. So here are my general questions, and I think we kind of hit this a little bit already. And also understand, like, some of these were meant for Shiki to answer directly, all right? So part of the reason I invited his whole audience is because if he's not going to speak on that behalf, I need people who agree with him, potentially, to speak on his behalf, okay? So if a reactor does promote voting and streaming, and they don't lock any BTS stuff behind a paywall, are they considered good? Yes or no? What are your thoughts? You cannot and should not get to gatekeep BTS. Their content is for everyone, so you can watch it for free and not pay a reactor. No. So a lot of you are saying no. So you're saying if a reactor promotes voting and streaming and they have everything for free, are they considered good? You say no. So what are the criteria? Good is completely undefined. Okay, absolutely. Even though they do both things, content theft and violation of IP is still a bad thing. Okay? Kenny, I don't know if content theft or violation of IP is necessarily true in this case. I think if that were true, then every reaction would be banned by the labels that claim them. And that's not the case. Good is whether I enjoy it or not. Okay, I think that's a pretty good answer. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. So Jellyfish says not entirely. That doesn't define their true intentions. Okay. His concern was only for those who react within 24 hours and free stuff behind paywall. That's not entirely true, because I know personally that the voting and streaming promotion is one of the key things that he is one of his concerns. Voting, right. And streaming. I consider a reactor good if I can feel they're being real and if I connect with them. Otherwise, I just don't watch them. Okay. So like I said, this was a question for Shiki specifically, but I left it here knowing he would not be here, because if anything, it shows you that even everybody here in the discussion has different parameters that they follow. They have different criteria that they're bringing to their own decision. Now, we already hit this. Is it only paid content? And a lot of you are just saying, like, if it's any BTS content, if it's locked behind a paywall, that is a problem. Okay. All right, so we hit that already. Now, one of the things that did come up was Shiki said, find a balance. Now, if the series like Run are not able to be put behind a paywall, right? Are the music videos acceptable? What constitutes a balance? Now, to be fair, I don't think you can answer this question from his perspective. So this is really tricky, okay? So I'm just gonna kind of bypass that. Now, here's how I kind of want to break this down. The reason I told you in the beginning that I have to dissect things to understand them, I want to kind of break this down into how I arrived at what I want to present to you in a way, because a lot of you, I can't say a lot of you, that's not fair. Some of you have your opinions on this, but I don't know if you have all the information that you should have. Sometimes we're all guilty of taking somebody else's opinion, and if we trust them, like, it just makes sense, and then we regurgitate that opinion because it makes sense to us or it matches our values or whatever the case might be. But at the very least, I want to give you information that I don't know if you have. Okay? And here's the order that I want to do this. I want to discuss Army. I want to discuss Reactors. I want to show you some numbers. We will absolutely talk about money because that is a huge crux of this discussion. I want to talk about Shiki directly, and then I want to circle back and discuss Army. Now, please understand, like I said, this is not just about Army. I saw somebody come in right off the bat and say, are there any stays here? Yes, we have Army, we have stays, we've got alphas, we've got 18, like there's all kinds of fandoms. So let's discuss Army. And the first question is, what makes a person Army? You tell me. And there really isn't like, I really want to hear your sincere answer to this. What makes a person Army? You like those transitions, huh? I may have spent over 40 hours going through this. Loving BTS and supporting their music. Loving BTS. Thank you, Joyce. I actually turned off monetization, so I don't know how that works. I'm a dear Army. Yes, you are. People that support BTS. All 7 and supporting their work. Hey, Trish. Miss you, buddy. A fan of BTS. You enjoy the music. We live for BTS. Love the music, the artist, and supporting them and their art. Army streams and votes. At least some fans just... oh, I see. So Army streams and votes. At least some. Fans just like and play a song here and there. Supporting BTS and holding yourself to their standards and treating others the way they treat us. Okay? Pink says, I might not be allowed to answer that one. I love BTS, but I've had bad experiences with their fans. Support BTS in and out. Okay? I just listen to the music and support them. Okay? Love and respect all members. So as you can see in the chat, there's a lot of different answers, right? Now, some of these were already mentioned. Here are ways you can support BTS, and you hit on them already. You appreciate their music, your art, and their message. You show them support on social media. You can follow their pages. You can vote for them in different platforms and different voting sequences and all kinds of stuff. Awards, right. You can be supportive to other Army. Now, this is one that I just kind of pulled out of the air. But I feel like if I were sitting with the 7 and we had a conversation about ways to support them, I feel like they would agree with this, right? You can stream their music. You can help share their music and their message with other people. You can provide some level of exposure for their art. You can buy their songs, their albums, their merch, concert tickets, and all the above. Do you feel like I missed anything, or do you disagree with any of the points that I've thrown up here? You can support their solo projects, okay? A lot of people want to be Army, but don't want to put in the work of supporting them. There's nothing wrong with being a fan, though, but BTS is where they are because Army streams and votes, etc. LF Doll. I'm going to call you Doll. Doll, when you say etc., what do you mean by that? Must support all 7. Okay, good points. Okay. Got it. So here's the beauty of this. And this is kind of what Kathy just said. Half of that I can't afford, but I'm Army. Here's the beauty of this. This bottom one right here, buy their songs and albums and merch and concert tickets. This is the only one that requires money. That's it. Everything else is completely free. Like even Spotify has a free option where you can stream their music. You don't have to pay for anything. We're missing a point some Army can't afford. You're right, Furchie. But there you go. There's all your ways that you can support BTS for free. Being part of a fandom shouldn't be a job. There are lots of ways to support for free. Yep. Okay, so Doll says, etc. means fighting for them in times like Suga's incident, calling out issues like Melon leaving Suga out of the VCR yesterday, for example. Okay? I think defining how to Army isn't very Army-like. Okay? So you can see in chat that we have a lot of different levels here, okay? Now, we knew this was going to be the case. This is no different than really any conversation where you know you're going to have people on each side of the fence. And in my perspective, this fence has a lot of different angles to it, okay? Yeah, Jojo makes a good point. This conversation goes way back. Again, this is not a new conversation. Okay. I want you to imagine that everybody that is Army or fan or whatever you want to call it fits into one of these teams, okay? Now, hopefully you can read this. I know it's small, but I try to do my best to put this together in a concise fashion. We have a streaming team. This team within Army, they focus on streaming, breaking records, charting, all that stuff. We have a funding team. These people focus on buying songs, buying albums, merch, concert tickets. We have a voting team that focuses on awards, an exposure team that shares the music with as many people as they can. We have a community team that helps to maintain safe places for Army. We have a social media team that follows, they share their content, and they protect when necessary, which Doll kind of hit on. And then we have a recruiting team that is always willing to pull baby army in and help them safely navigate the space. Okay? Does this can you imagine if these 7 teams, were kind of how Army functioned? Make sense so far? It is a very military way of dividing roles. You're right. Let me get there, though. Here's the question for you. Which team or teams would you say you fit into? Stream, you buy their stuff when you can. Not everything. You're not giving all of your money, but you've purchased something BTS. Voting. Exposure. You share music. You're involved in a community in some way within Army. You're on social media in some capacity around BTS in some way. And then you help recruit if needed. So some of you can say all of them. Some of you say one of them. Okay, I'm in these 2. Like I stream and I vote. I have purchased stuff. Okay, most of them. 2 and 6. I'm in 4 of them. I stream, I buy, I social, maybe 3, someday 4. Okay. All of them. I'm in all, a couple of them, few of them. Okay. Now, here's the next question. Think about this. How should these teams be ranked within Army? What are your thoughts? How should these 7 teams be ranked within Army? They shouldn't. They're all equal. Funding number 1. Equally. They should all work together. No ranking, just puzzle pieces. Why should they be ranked? No ranking. Equally. They can't. You think I've got it laid out as they are. So you think like streaming is number 1, funding is number 2, voting is number 3, and so on. Okay? Shiv says stream, exposure, social, community, voting, and recruiting. Okay? Depends on the situation. Okay. Here's where I'm going to give you my opinion. Okay? I want to make that clear. If I throw data at you, I will tell you this is data that I have, that I've worked hard for. This is the conclusion I've come to. Here is my opinion. It looks like that. My opinion, everything is equal to everything else. Everybody serves a role in supporting BTS in their own way. Yes, it's a circle chart. Oh my God. You knew damn well that I was going to have a pizza-shaped chart in this. Army is a pizza. That's right. I couldn't wait. I was like, get there, pizza. Yes, it's a pizza chart. Now, in my opinion, again, my opinion, this is how it should be. If you take one of these out, the whole puzzle suffers, right? If we have these 7 pieces, but then all of a sudden you take the voting out, it hurts the process. It hurts the mission of supporting BTS as a whole. If you take the streaming out, the community aspect out, the exposure out, it suffers. Okay? I don't disagree with the chart, except that I feel that listening to their music in some ways is sort of minimum. Okay. Please do not side bite the pizza chart. I shouldn't have to say that. Again, my opinion. Because I think that at the end of the day, when these pieces come together, this is the macro view of what we're looking at. Yes, within Army, people do things to support BTS. That's what makes them Army, in my opinion. If you love BTS, I mean, and how do you even quantify that? That's what makes you Army. Again, my opinion. Now, some of you don't agree, and that's okay. Some of you think that there is a bare minimum of you should do this because it's easy. It doesn't cost any money. You should. I hear you. I just don't know if I necessarily agree. That's all. Yeah, so for me personally, I don't think there should be a hierarchy. I think you either appreciate BTS's music and that's it. Which is why we have like identifiers of baby army, right? You're just kind of walking around with this giant head trying to stay upright, but you don't really know anything. Every army play an important role. What I cannot do is covered by other army. Okay, Mona, that's a really good way to look at it. Because some of you have the capacity or the capability to do all of these things. You can do all 7 and you just a warrior. Rock on. Some people can't. Some people can't afford to buy merch. So they have to do other things to support BTS. But because it's a collective, Army is a collective, we kind of like, even as the cup says, I'm going to show you the cup, look out for each other. Like that's kind of the whole purpose of this. I mean, for those of you that have been around this channel for the 3 years that we've been live, it should not surprise you why BTS reached out of the screen and punched me in the mouth, because their message is absolutely part of what I consider my values. Before I go on to reactors, let me ask you. As far as we've come within the discussion so far, whether you agree or disagree with any points, no points, whatever the case might be, do you feel like where we have arrived now, right now, in this conversation on this live stream, has been logical? That's my question to you. And again, no wrong answer. That's your opinion. Have we arrived here logically? Now, will I acknowledge that some of this is going to be potentially based on emotion? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we have to acknowledge this for what it is. Like this, being part of a community, and especially one as significant as Army, which it boasts like 40 million people worldwide, of course there's going to be emotion involved in this. But in some ways, like we have to step back in moments like this and say, okay, I don't want to let my emotions get the best of me. I need to like take a step back and kind of analyze this for what I think it is. And then use that logic to kind of help yourself make a less emotional decision potentially. That's how I look at it anyway. 90 million? 90? $90? Huh. And 2 of you said it, so, it must be true. If I make a pie chart and it says 90 million, okay. Huh. Yeah, how do you count the number? That's a damn good question. As a data analyst, I agree with your approach. Thank you, Ren. Okay. Now that I feel like we at least establish what Army kind of looks like, what it means to be Army, what that can entail and involve, now I want to move on to reactors. And this has been a big part of the conversation. Now, I will tell you that this part right here is kind of how I visualize reactors' roles within Army. So we had the 7 teams, right? Reactors have a role within those 7 teams. Yes, this is my side of the story. That's part of it. Correct. Reactor. Let's get deep here. Let's get definitive. Noun. A person who films themselves experiencing something for the first time. Their genuine facial expressions, commentary, and emotions create an engaging experience for viewers. Agree or disagree? Now, you can see the fine print, which you probably can't read at the bottom. It says definitions have been modified for brevity and contextualization, but accuracy is maintained. I wanted to keep the gist of this. Okay, so point number one, you agree with. Genuine is very important. Yes, I agree. It is very literal. Okay? Now, the second point, which I kind of grayed out because it's not really where I'm going right now, something that controls and contains a chain reaction to release energy, which can be used to generate electricity. Also reactor. Okay. Is that in the dictionary? I have no idea. I used Google. I haven't touched a dictionary since I was a fetus. Okay. Reactor. I envision Army like the screen that you see right here, which depending on your screen brightness, maybe you can't tell, but that is the universe behind Army. So apparently with the 90 million Army that are flailing around out there, all these stars will say our Army. Okay. Please do not send me a dictionary. I have no interest in words. You're lucky I can read the chat. Okay. So if this is Army, the 90 million are out there. All of a sudden one day on YouTube, I'm hypotheticalizing, making up words. A reactor appears. Okay. They react to BTS music videos. And then some of these Army begin to kind of show up around this reactor. Okay? Yes, it's a reactor. This is the best icon I could find. A wild reactor has appeared. So you can see what's happened. Some of the Army kind of congregated around the reactor, and then another reactor appeared, and people congregated around them. And then more reactors appeared, and then people congregated around them. So around every reactor, there's this kind of community that exists around the antenna. Not antenna, the reactor. Damn it, you guys. Yes, Perry, you're right. This is not actually how this works. This is the gist, but the truth is that it's not as closed as this. This is what these communities actually look like. It's not this. It's this. Okay? There's a lot of overlap with the communities that kind of are birthed around these reactors. Okay? Now, if you notice, we have all these reactors, we have all these communities, there's a lot of overlap. But you notice, like, all of a sudden one day, a reactor goes away. Did you see that? Did you see that transition? Bro, watch. Yo. That reactor went away. Okay? And then all of a sudden one day, another reactor goes away. Another reactor goes away. Huh. Well, what could cause that? Why don't, like, where'd they go? It does happen quite a lot. You're right. Something causes reactors and communities to stay. And something causes reactors and communities to not stay, to dissolve. Okay. What could that be? Too much pressure? Comment sections getting nasty? ADHD, okay. They go to Patreon, okay. Life happens, they lose interest. Comment sections going off, new hobbies. Some of them are space buttholes, okay. They drift away from the group. They don't feel genuine. Ooh, now BJ brings up a good point. A lot of you are looking at this like these reactors that have gone away are going away by choice, by their own choice, which can be true. But what BJ says is it doesn't feel genuine. Well, what if this reactor right here doesn't feel genuine to a whole bunch of people, to most people? They keep putting out reactions, but they don't give that genuine vibe. If people don't congregate around them, this person will most likely lose interest, and then they will go away. So there's two sides of this coin. Sometimes it's a choice by the reactor. Sometimes it is, for lack of a better phrase, it is the market speaking. If you go and you put out these videos and nobody watches you, it's not a lot of incentive to keep doing it, because this does take work. Yeah, and there are so many reasons. I mean, that's true. That could be health reasons. It could be financial. It could be anything. Time, energy, effort. Yeah. I won't watch them, let alone subscribe to their channel if they feel fake, says Heather. Sometimes clickbait titles or subjects on YouTube, okay? Yep. If I see someone who is overreacting, I immediately click off. It's me. You would not like it here. I am a bit much. Different life goals. They get overwhelmed. That can be true too. Yep. A lot of clickbait videos. Okay. No clout. If I see a 5-minute reaction to a 3-minute song, I won't watch. Some just use BTS for clout. Interesting. Okay. How many reactors, I tell you what, how many BTS reactors do you think there are on YouTube? Throw a guess. I mean, do you think it's 10? Do you think it's 20? Do you think it's over 100? Over 1,000? Over 9,000? Because Dragon Ball Z is a thing, apparently. Hundreds, 5,000, too many, a bajillion. Now, I actually don't have an answer. Some of you are giving like really specific answers because you think I know. I have no idea. If I had to guess, I'd say there's probably at least 1,000. There's probably a couple thousand. No idea. Okay, actually, I'm just going to agree with Lulu. 4,532. Wait, 31. One just gave up again. 30. Oh, they're just dropping like flies. BTS only. Yeah, I have no idea. I think there are a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of K-pop reactors. All right. Are you ready to get juicy? Edit that out. I don't want to say that. I'm going to come up with something cooler. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Transitions. Oh, numbers. Oh, we like numbers. Numbers speak. Numbers are logical. It's less emotional. We like circles and we like numbers. Now, one of the things that happens when people discuss reactors let me back up just a touch. One of the things that happens when people discuss reactors making money is that there is a perception of how much money people make. Okay, there's an idea. Now, these numbers, I want to tell you, I started with, again, the framework for this entire conversation came from Shicky's live stream. Okay, so here's what I did. I took the people that I could remember being on that live stream that he was putting into this ranked chart. And these are kind of some familiar names. And if you can't see it, I apologize. We got What You Gotta Say, we got Nico, we got Mr. Sammy Cam, Mexanese Family, DT Parker, John Reeves Live, Jared and Jordan, Roscoe, Colombian Cousins and Wives, the Murasan Family, Gino, Game Boy 310, Shicky, Tribe Louie, and Jackpot Army. Those are the ones that I could remember being in this list, because a lot of people I had never heard of, okay? Now, watch this. Now, also, I'm going to hit Purple Disney. Purple Disney just said, wait, not Game Boy 310. Just because they're on the list doesn't mean that they were called out and that they're bad. There was like a ranking system, okay? Now, this is how many subscribers each one of those people have. From Nico all the way down to Jackpot Army. This is a graph, a chart of how many subscribers these people have. So if we take the 5 people that Shicky said are the ones doing it right, they were on the top ranking as these guys are doing it right. They exemplify what it means to be a BTS reactor. Here's who that is. Gino, Game Boy, Shicky is obviously the gold standard, Tribe Louie, and Jackpot Army. Okay? These are the ones. Gino, Game Boy, Shicky, Tribe Louie, and Jackpot Army. So here's my question. The first question that comes up when you see this. What is noticeable about these 5 people that is different from the rest of the graph? What do you think? The smallest counts of subscribers, lowest subs, less than 100K. Now, Murasan Family also fits in that, just so you know, they're at like 98,000. Okay. So then this begs the next question. If these were the 5 that are like top tier, they are the best of the best, what could the perceived incentive be for Shicky to say these guys are the top tier, they're the best, everybody else is bad? What would his incentive be to do a live stream and call out everybody to the left side of this line? Promotion. To get subs, increase subscriber count, pull subscribers and views, aggression, stealing their subs. They are his favorites. Needs to protect his circle. Rage bait. Okay. What happens here? Now, I want to be clear, okay? I'm asking you these questions because I think that when we get into a conversation like this that is so complex, these are the types of ways that we should be arriving at conclusions, right? Looking at data, looking at numbers, getting a visual picture of how this all came together, okay? If I have, hypothetically, if I have 48,000 subs and I start talking in ways about all these other channels, there's a good chance that the people that are communities around these channels are going to come see what I'm doing in a protective way, potentially. That could be an incentive, right? It could be. I'm not saying that's what he's doing. I'm saying when you look at the picture, you could say, oh, I kind of don't like this. Okay. Interesting. But, you ready for this but? Never thought I'd say that. This is only a list of the reactors that I could remember. Okay? This is why when I finished with this whole thing and I had all the math and spreadsheets and data figured out, all of a sudden we got a new dump of information and everything had to be reworked. This right here is a half-truth. This is not the full picture. This is only what I could remember. So this created a picture based on the information that I had to look at this and go, oh, well, maybe this isn't true. Maybe there's not an agenda behind it. I need more information. I need more true information to make my decision. Somebody was able to recover the thumbnail or a screenshot from this live stream that occurred. So thankfully we have enough people that kind of knew what they were talking about and knew how to hack the planet that we were able to figure out all of the people that were discussed in this live stream. Because we need information. We need accurate information to figure this out. Sonny says, I don't think Shicky had bad intentions at heart, but he handled this unskillfully and without sufficient consideration. Okay? So if we take this information and we apply it, this is everybody. This is the subscriber count for everybody. I know you can't read it. You don't need to. But if we apply the same logic of where Shicky and the Golden Four fit in, here's what that looks like. It's not as obvious because the other people that are around them and even lower than them, they might have Patreons or they don't promote voting or streaming. So it's not as clear of a picture. Does that make sense? It's just his opinion, says Andy Flowers, and trash was not meant like that. It just seems to be his observations, ranking accounts, and encouraging comments and discourse on the video, okay? Shicky has been here for years, only promoting BTS and has a community of armies only. Jealousy isn't the reason, nor is the comparatively less subscribers an issue to him, nor the other 3-4 he mentioned. I actually agree with you. I don't think that it's a jealousy issue or a subscribe. I don't think it's any of that. Even with the full picture, it doesn't seem productive for the fandom at large. So the graph titles show a lot of it was his opinion. Okay. Okay. So again, this is just visuals for understanding. Okay. Now here's where it's going to get interesting. We have the channel name, the amount of subs, and then whether or not that channel, according to Shicky's criteria, promotes voting and streaming, and if they have a paid Patreon. Now, again, this part here is not everybody. Like, this is the initial group that I had because I did not have time to go back, but you're going to see the picture, okay? Here's the list, the initial list of the main ones that he has talked about. Here is a list of their subscriber numbers. Not that you need this, but here is also, do they promote voting? Okay, so let me back up a touch. Shicky promotes voting, and he does not have a paid Patreon. So he is going to be the standard, according to his live stream. He's going to be the standard for if these guys are the golden ones, okay? Anybody else that does promote voting should be halfway there. No. The only ones are the Murasan family. So they're halfway there. But Gino doesn't talk about voting. Jackpot Army doesn't. Patreon. All of these have paid Patreons, except for Gino, Tribe Louie, and Game Boy 310. So let's highlight the ones. Now, these are the 4 that Shicky said are like, these are the good ones. Okay? None of these match with the standard that you see up here. Gino, Jackpot Army, Tribe Louie, and Game Boy 310, none of them promote streaming or voting. Gino does not have a Patreon? Check. Jackpot Army has a Patreon. Tribe Louie does not have a Patreon. Check. Game Boy 310 does not have a Patreon. So, yes, this all shows you that it's very opinion-based. And in the past, Jose did promote voting. So Santi says Tribe does promote voting and streaming. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong. The reason I have no is because when I went back through some of Tribe's videos, I didn't find any, and he specifically said in a recent video, I need to do better about the voting and streaming. And he does have a free Patreon. Correct. Yes, and Gino does have a Patreon, but he doesn't lock any of it behind a paywall. Correct. So a lot of this is kind of semantics, but I just want you to see the big picture. Now, here's one thing that kind of confuses me. Gino, for example, and I'm friends with Gino. I'm not talking shit about Gino, but Gino ended up on the top of the thing, so we have to kind of use that to deconstruct, like, to make sense of this. Gino gets top tier on the list, but he doesn't promote voting or streaming, which is Shicky's like main thing. Now he has a Patreon, but it's free, right? So he's kind of half the puzzle, but yeah, I mean, he has his own couch cushion here, for crying out loud. We love Gino. But we have to use this data to kind of make sense of this. So there's one piece. I know you don't have an answer for that, and that's fine. I'm trying to show you what I think are holes in this equation. He said he didn't want Gino to come after him. I believe that. So here's another question. If you look here, it says the Murasan family. They promote voting. They also have a paid Patreon. Well, they're the only other group in all these channels, as far as I was aware. I didn't know about the Louis thing. I was going off what he said. Okay? He said he needs to do better. He's been slacking. I don't know what that means. The Murasan family actually did discuss voting and streaming, and they do have a paid Patreon. However, in Shicky's own words, it wasn't enough. And also their own words too. It wasn't enough. They needed to do it more and more often. Okay? Now, so, Aina, you say he did not. I don't know if you're talking to me or Murasan family only started promoting voting after Shiki called them and other channels out in an earlier live. Mrs. Lightning Bolt, I don't know if that's true. They may have picked it up, as they say, but they were doing it before. Now, I don't know how much. That's the truth. They could have done it once a month. I have no idea. I mean, you can see how complicated this is, right? Yeah, and that was actually something that Shiki did say. He said they were doing it, but they need to do it more. Okay? So again, all information. And to me, this is not an answer. This is more like, wait a second. This is a really complicated issue. This is not me, for example, going live and spouting off a bunch of stuff in frustration and potentially hurting other people and communities at large, mainly Army as a whole community. Okay? Yeah, what constitutes as more? Right. So if you're anything like me, at this point, you are kind of confused, right? What constitutes as hurting Army? Okay, that's really good questions. Andrea asked, what constitutes hurting Army? The way that I specify hurting Army is if there is something that is creating division through a community of people, that hurts that community. That's how I see it. Now, that's a very vague statement, right? Because I think there are some levels of division that will occur anyway, and I think there will probably be some levels of division that might be warranted, right? Because I think there's probably some people that say they're Army and none of their values at all seem to reflect what BTS has seemingly laid out as, this is who we are, this is our message. It gets really tricky. Sugar said, hey, Jess, so is this rank list something that Roscoe did or the other streamer and we are just looking at it? So this list right here is only, it's not a ranking list, but the one we're referencing is from another reactor. Ooh, it's exacerbating fault lines. That's a really interesting way to put it. Okay. I know I'm throwing a lot at you. I want to get to a point here shortly where we can have more of the discussion. Okay, so I got some clarity here. Andy had said, no, Shiki said, if you're going to put a paywall, at least promote voting and put some run BTS for free. Hey, John, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Okay. All right, so again, this is just kind of throwing data out there to kind of get a bigger picture of everything in general, okay? Now, this next part is top secret. If you start this next section, you are sworn to secrecy. Now, for those of you that are spamming Shiki, I don't know if he's here or not. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he's listening, but he was invited to this. He was invited to this to have a conversation on the air, and he declined. Okay, so you're giving me the thumbs up. If you start this next section, this is top secret material. Okay? You are committing to stay until the section is complete. Because we're going to talk about money. Money. You like numbers? You like money? Okay. And no spoilers, chat. Some of you know information. Let's talk about money. Talk about that moolah. Now, the reason I wanted to just talk about this, because, I mean, outside of the fact that, duh, we're going to talk about money because a lot of the conversation goes around this. As I said before, especially when I watched other live streams where people are against the paid Patreons or paying for content, whatever the case is, there's a perception that reactors are making these massive paychecks. Okay, it's a perception, and honestly, everything is situation dependent. There might be people that are making a killing on YouTube. I have no idea. Okay, but I want to give you some data. I want to, again, this is not you regurgitating information. This is me from my perspective and as far as where I came from. This is transparency so you understand the big picture, okay? Now, I want to use this as a reference.
It's time to look at the people with the platforms and how much they ate and what they put on the table themselves.
Now, did you hear that? It seemed like it was a little low. One of Shiki's things he said in one of his videos on October 28th was, we want to look at the people that have the platforms, how much they have eaten, and how much they put on the table. Okay, good to go.
It's time to look.
Now, here's some YouTube math for you. This is how the YouTube thing works. This is where money comes in, okay? You have to understand a couple things. There are niches on YouTube where they figure out kind of which category your channel fits into. So for example, wealth and finance is a niche. If you have a wealth and finance channel, they put you in that niche. And then your monetization is based on that category, and that's how they know how much to pay you, okay? CPM is how they determine, based on your niche, how much to pay you per ad impressions. Okay, now I'm gonna pause this moment to tell you, half of what I'm about to say is gonna go right over most of your head, and that's fine. You don't have to memorize this. It's not a quiz. It's not a test at the end. But I just want you to have information you should have. Okay. CPM is essentially how much you're going to be paid per ad impressions, or what I'm going to use here is views. It doesn't perfectly translate, but we need a metric to kind of go by, okay? In the wealth and finance niche, you're going to be paid anywhere from $12 to $25 per 1,000 views of a video. Now, if we take that as an average, say we do like 17 bucks, right? So our niche where we live is reaction. We are a reaction channel. All the reactors that were called out, we fit within the reaction niche. Per 1,000 views, we make anywhere between $3 and $7. Okay? If we call it clean, let's just say $5 per 1,000 views. So if I have a reaction video that I launch and my CPM is $5, that means as soon as that video reaches 1,000 views, I make $5. Does that make sense? If I have a reaction video that reaches 2,000 views, I make $10. 4,000 views, I make $20. Simple math. I want to keep it really simple. Okay? Okay, now, my personal experience on YouTube. This is why I say you have to stay till the end of this section. And yes, it's before taxes. 2022, my first year, I launched 340 videos. I got 1.8 million views. In 2023, I launched 366 videos. I got 15.1 million views. In 2024, 328 videos. I got 17.8 million views. And to answer your question, Tammy, if a video was watched for more than 30 seconds, it constitutes a view. Okay? Now, if we apply these numbers to the CPM model that we had before, here's the numbers we're looking at. In 2022, 1.8 million views at a CPM of 5, I made $9,000. In 2023, 15 million views, CPM of 5, I made $75,000. In 2024, 17.8 million views at a CPM of 5, and I made $89,000. Okay? So in 3 years, $173,500. You with me? Okay. Yep. Good. Now, I have a total of 1,867 videos. 1,280 of those videos are demonetized, which means I don't make any money. 108 videos are shared with the owners of that content. 479 of them are monetizable. I get to get some money for 479 videos out of 1,867. Okay? The 3 years that I've done this, I was expecting to make $173,500. I actually made $16,000 over the 3 years, which translates to $8.57 per video. Oh, we're not done yet. It's a very huge difference. Okay? Hang tight. Now, we take that $16,000, $8.57 per video that I have launched. No, this is not just BTS. The first year was just BTS, and everything after that, I've counted everything on my channel. So, I tell you $16,000 over the 3 years. Yes, that's how much I made. However, we're really talking about reactions, okay? I've had a couple blips that have boosted that number that weren't really accurate with the MV, the music video model that we've done. So if I account for those blips, those weird, like, where the hell did that come from? Actually, I take that back. I got ahead of myself. $16,000 at 3 years translates to $444 per month. I spend $162.50 on software and services to run all this every month, and that leaves $281.50. Okay? Now, we do 2 giveaways every month on our channel, and depending on how much shipping costs for wherever in the world these things are going, let's just say it's $100 for both giveaways, okay? Now, we don't have to do that. We do that, but full transparency, recently we had a couple people send a whole bunch of stuff to give away. So I haven't had to do this in the last several months, nor will I have to for a few months. But generally speaking, I spend $100 a month on giveaways or supporting other streamers, community support. We do stuff for Discord people, all kinds of stuff. Okay? Yes, this is only YouTube, Andy. I take my 25% tax off, and that leaves $136.13 per month that's left over on YouTube, which translates to $3.15 per video. Okay? This is only YouTube. If someone likes a video you did a year ago, do you get money for it? It's not a matter of like, it's really how many views it has, because then YouTube can put ads on that video, you're not paying anything, but the ad companies pay. Okay. So that's $3.15 per video. Now, as I already alluded to, if I take the blips that I had over the 3 years, like for example, the Korean Englishman series was actually monetized, and those, because of my military background, they went. So I made a couple grand off just those videos. Okay. But that's very, very different than the MVs that we have done 99% of. So more accurately, it's $10,121, which comes to $281 per month. I take away what I spend, I take away the giveaways and the taxes, comes out to $13.50 left over per month, which means I have made 26 cents per video on YouTube. Per video that I have launched on YouTube, I've made 26 cents. If your viewers have YouTube Premium, does that affect what the YouTuber earns? It does, but I don't know how, to be honest. I don't think it hurts us because there's even a section that says YouTube Premium, and this is what has been paid. Okay? If you take the 30 hours per month that we are live, actually, I take that back. It's about 20 hours, I think, that we are live on the air and I am in front of the camera doing stuff. And you take that $13.50 left over, it comes out to about 45 cents per hour that I get paid. Now, the 30 hours is also the administrative stuff that takes behind the scenes, like subtitles, and there's all kinds of stuff that's part of this, okay? So, Lulu, I can pay you, but it's going to be like 6 cents. And if we go out to dinner, you're getting a couple packets of ketchup or something. Okay? So where does the money go, is the question. If I were a YouTuber that was not doing reactions and I just made videos that could be monetizable, I would have made $173,000. Instead, I made $10,121 with the reactions themselves for the most part, or 16, however you want to look at it. Where does the money go? And that's true. Jennifer says, but what I pay out, some people don't. You're right. But even if you take away my giveaways, or like my software, like there's going to be some money in this. This is not free to do. It's not. It might be for a little while, but at some point it's going to take money. So yeah, you might end up with somebody that's not spending as much as I am, and they might end up making minimum wage or more. I have no idea. This is all just my experience on YouTube. Okay. Are you ready for this? So where does the money go? This is what it looks like behind the scenes of a video that's uploaded on YouTube. This is BTS Permission to Dance. This is my reaction for that video. As you can see up top, it says the copyright owners are Hybe. And then at the very bottom, video cannot be monetized. Ad revenue is paid to the copyright owner. Right? Which means that the money that I would have made directly goes to Hybe. And Schnell, ad revenue and views, it's all the same thing. I'm just putting it all in the same bucket. There's no different bucket. So BTS do get money by reaction videos, basically? Yes. Here is, I know you can't read it, and trust me, don't worry. This is how much ad revenue has been paid to the labels and artists. This is the entire list of people that was mentioned on that live stream, and this is how much was paid to those groups. If we start all the way down on the left, $1.7 million went to those artists. Nico has made $680,000 for BTS. Jose has made $550,000 for BTS. Based on views and ad revenue, that money goes to Hybe. So here's how I did that. Lindsay says, where can you get those numbers from? Now, some of this is conjecture, but it's based on the information that I have based on the information on the back end. So what I did was I took the amount of channel views that they had. I went divided by 1,000 views and then a CPM of 5. And that gives me the amount of ad revenue that should have been paid regardless of where it's going. Okay. And yes, CPM is different between countries. You're right. There is so many variables to this, but even if it's not exact, you'll get a basic understanding. And yes, some of the money does go to YouTube instead of Hybe, but that's not the Reactors' fault. YouTube provides the platform, they get their cut, and then Hybe gets the rest. I have no idea what YouTube's cut is, so I can't account for that. And no, they are not all from the US, I don't believe. I could be wrong in that. I'm not actually sure. No, Shiki is in Sweden, so that doesn't work. Okay. So if we take everybody that was mentioned, I know you probably can't read this, and I apologize, but I'm going to break it down for you. I'm just going to throw a couple things at you. Everybody, this is a list of everybody that was mentioned in that live stream. It is sorted by how much ad revenue was paid to those artists that the person reacted to. Everybody you see in purple, that is somebody who is a BTS exclusive reactor. Now, Shiki is in gold because I want you to be able to see where he's at in the graph, okay? Let's see. So for references, Nico, 680,000. Jose, 550,000. You come down to me, where am I? 173,500. We talked about that. The Murasan family, 196,000. Triple Take, 28,500. Sleep, 4,100. So what I did was I took all of this money and I collected it. And at this point, everybody who was mentioned in their own way has earned a total of $7.3 million for the artists that they react to. If we take just BTS channels, it's over $3 million. $3 million that these people reacting to BTS has gone not in their pocket, but to Hybe without like YouTube's cut and all that. $3 million. Now, you say, was it Murasan family is not only a BTS reactor. You are right. Actually, as a matter of fact, you are right, because I know just recently they started getting into 17 as well. You're right. That's a good question. What about the BTS reactors that have multiple channels? So that actually doesn't matter. If somebody asked about Nico's second channel, if Nico does a reaction, it's going to get caught by YouTube. All of that revenue is going to go to Hybe. There's just no way around it. Actually, I take that back. There are ways around it, but it's kind of shady. Like if you put a, what do you call it? Like a a cut in the screen, or you kind of like mirror things, you stretch them out. Like that's usually a way to get around the copyright. Now, full transparency, I have done that, but it wasn't for copyright. It was because I wanted people to see the video and they couldn't even really see the video. We put so much snow on the original video, but I wanted them to see my reaction. I mean, I have done that 100%. But some people do it for different reasons. They do it for different ways, but that's neither here nor there. Now, I want to hit on this one point. The voting and streaming thing was a huge part of this conversation. Okay, actually, before I go that. So Diva says, Roscoe, I have a question. Why is Shiki's opinion so important? To answer that question, Diva, his opinion is not important to me. Like I said, this is not a defensive mode coming from me. This is information because what Shiki did created this, as somebody so cleverly put, exacerbated fault line. It creates division within the fandom and within the family that is problematic. I don't want to see this level of like headbutting and stress within a community that I love and I appreciate. That's why it's important for us to look at the numbers, to look at the data. So as Lindsay said, he started a conversation. He did. I wanted to have that conversation, and yet here we are. This is the only way I can have it, so that's what we're going to do. Now, part of what was said was, if you take all of the BTS reaction channels and you count them up, we're in the millions, is what was said. We're in the millions. That's true. We know that. In this chart right here, 2,242,000 subscribers in just these BTS channels. Okay? 2,242,000. That's the total BTS Army audience for these BTS exclusive channels. If we assume, like, how many of you watch more than one reactor? I think that's a fair question. Some of you don't, some of you do. You watch more than one. So for that reason, I assume 25% overlap. We talk about people being involved in multiple communities. It's probably safe to say that a lot of people, I'm going to say 25%, watch more than one reactor. Okay? So I take that 25% and I deduct it from the 2.2 million. It gives us a total Army audience on this graph of 1.6 million people. Now, what was said next was, what if we had 10 or 15% of those people that did voting and streaming? That is a good goal. There's nothing wrong with that. But statistically, you can only expect about 5% of your audience to do what you hope they will do. Now, if you don't believe me, you can go to any YouTube video, look at the number of views, and then look at the number of likes. Generally speaking, you're going to see some outliers, but most of them will sit between 4 and 7%. And that is an indicator of the 5% responsive audience that I'm talking about. Okay? So 5% of that 1.68 million is 84,000 people. Now, Army Power says, to BTS only reactors, voting gets them awards, streaming gets them on the charts, giving their art the platform and respect is what I feel. Okay? Yep. Every piece of it has their, I think, has their contribution. But to Shicky's point, we have 1.68 million people watching these reactors that are BTS, that are Army. Let's call them Army. If we can expect 5% of them, ideally, not ideally, but accurately, 5% of them to do what we've asked them to do, if all of us said, hey, don't forget to vote, don't forget to stream, realistically, that 5% would be 84,000 people. Now, if we take Shicky's 48,000 people out of the equation, because I'm assuming they're all voters and streamers, that leaves 36,000 people. Would the 36,000 extra voters have changed the outcome of the voting award ceremony or whatever it was that kicked this whole thing off? More questions. That's a rhetorical question. But again, this is data. This is just numbers. We don't know. Well, what's the 1%? 1% of what? Yeah, there's so many factors. I don't know. Yeah, Liz, don't worry. If you're getting lost in the numbers, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. So for this reason, like I said, all I wanted to do is kind of give you some numbers here, and you can see kind of what makes up the fabric of these reactors, of the whole process. There's still more, all right? But I do want to kind of hit John's question real quick. But I don't think a lot of you had this information. I wanted to kind of pull back the curtain where I'm able to. Now, also understand, I want to make something clear. In this chart, everything I just talked about, the numbers that I was explaining was just only for Army. That's assuming that everybody on these channels is just voting for Army. So if we talk about 84,000 people, that's assuming that every single one of those is going to be voting for Army. I mean, no idea. No idea. All right, John, what do you got, brother? It's not so much a question, but my whole issue with how Shicky has gone about this. Well, John, for that reason, the next section is going to be this. So don't worry. Now, remember, this is all about, so far, this has been about YouTube, okay? And the reason for that is because when these conversations start, a lot of people involved that are against other reactors talk about how much is made on YouTube. He wasn't just talking about Patreon, I can assure you. Trust me, I have gone through many, many, many hours of videos and live streams and everything. Now, I know he has a problem with Patreon. I get all that. It is essentially giving an echo chamber for people to voice their hate to other Army, and yes, we're reactors, but Army, and that's lame. Echo chamber. is a very good way to put that. And the reason that I wanted to make sure that I invited everybody to this discussion was because I did not want this to be an echo chamber. I did not want to just be talking to the same couple hundred people that I'm always talking to, and everybody just goes, yeah, that's great, that's right, you're super. Hell no. This is a discussion. This has been an issue in Army and other fandoms for years. So it just makes sense. If we're going to make progress in this, if there's going to be some change, we have to do it within all of the points of structure that we can actually discuss. Communication is key. Now, here's what I want to say before I move on to the next point. And some of this will come towards the end, but I don't want to lose some of you. Okay? How do I structure this thought? Patreon exists for a reason. Okay. When you look at these let's call them reactors, call them communities, as you can see, there's not a lot of support to be had on YouTube. There's just not. Reaction content is not how you get rich on YouTube. If you want to support the communities and reactors that you see doing content that you like, there are ways to support them. Patreon is one of those ways, okay? Now, some of you say, well, no, I get it, Patreon is a thing, but how are you putting videos behind a paywall? Here's my first question that I legitimately need help understanding. We kind of hit on this earlier, but I don't think I waited for an answer. Free content more so. If a reactor puts a music video on Patreon, let's say they have, let's call it $1, okay? There should be a free option to be fair. Bob Vance Refrigeration. Let's call it $1. They have a dollar Patreon. I don't want to get wrapped around like, well, this person has $5, this person had 10. Doesn't matter. You're paying $1, okay? If it's a music video and it's locked behind that dollar, and then there's a Run BTS that's locked behind the dollar, is it the same or is Run treated differently? Now, some of this might be different opinions, and I'm okay with that. I just want to hear what people say. Purple says, so Roscoe, hearing Shika's opinion, are you going to now promote voting and streaming to your followers? I will answer that later. It's two different things. If it's just an episode of Run being locked or a reactor actually saying something about the episode, there's two different things. Yeah, I mean their reaction to an episode, not just like an episode without them. Okay, so here's why I have confusion about this. Run BTS is free content, right? Lindsay says, BTS is giving to us for free by the people who do it, so reactions to it behind the paywall is not right. So where can you watch Run BTS for free? It wasn't always free, but it's free now. Okay, so where can you watch it for free? YouTube and Weverse. Bangtan TV, I'm assuming, is the YouTube channel. On their YouTube channel. It wasn't always free, got it, but it is now, okay? Okay, so then here's my next question. If you can watch Run for free on YouTube or Weverse, why all of the animosity towards the content of someone reacting to the content and putting it behind a paywall? Like, that's what I need help understanding. You're paying for the reaction to the content, not the content, right? Like John said, if we just took, like, if reactors were the only ones who had Run BTS content and we locked it behind a paywall where BTS gave it out for free, but we suddenly took it and locked it up, well, I would call bullshit too. I'd be friggin' pissed. Because you are reactors, not army. Andy, I don't know if I understand that. If you can elaborate. So it's a job? I mean, how do you like, what, if you receive money, is that a job? Is that what constitutes it? Reactors can be army too, that's right. John Reeves. Well, I dare to say I am army and a reactor. Jonathan, how dare you? Ban him. BTS gives it to us for free as possible, and then every after takes it, changes just a few things or adds a few comments here and there, and then they get paid for that. Some reactors overdo it. They'll make it a business. Being army is not their main thing anymore, but making money. That feels very subjective to me. If you put it on YouTube, you're already getting views. You're right, we do make a lot of money on YouTube. So again, so here's, okay. I think some of you, yeah, why are you paying to watch content you have free access to? That's odd behavior. The truth is, if you watch free content that is behind a paywall, you are watching it for the reactor's reaction. Yes, that was absolutely sarcasm. I know somebody will pull that out of context. Who decides who's army and who's not? Okay, so let me slow things down a little bit. Because at this point, I feel like we're kind of teetering on the edge of, like, some of you feel this way, some of you feel that way, and we're going to start butting heads. So let me just simplify something. And I'm going to say something and you're going to be like, well, duh. But it needs to be said out loud instead of everybody trying to read everybody else's thing. Yes, we do make money on Patreon. You're right, we do. As you can tell from the chat, you can see it running and gunning right below me. I feel like it's, yeah, like Jenny says, it's a personal thing. You decide when you're army the same way that you decide how you're going to support the people that you support. If a reactor is not genuine, they should naturally lose support and fall off pretty quickly. I agree with that. I think if you are picky about who you support, the people who are not received as genuine will just go by the wayside. And if you don't want to support somebody, you don't have to. That's all. It's as simple as that. And I want to make it so, okay, so one of the words that keeps getting thrown around is gatekeeping. But I don't think that that's accurate because, like I said, these are all like, lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh. Gatekeeping, thank you. All of the content that you're talking about is free. It's free for you to watch anytime you want. Gatekeeping is where you lock away something and you force people to go through you to get it. If, like I said, if I took a Run BTS episode and I took that only copy and I said, no one will watch this unless you pay me $100, that's gatekeeping. But a lot of you support Reactors because you want to watch their reaction to that episode. I think deciding if someone qualifies as Army or not is gatekeeping. I do agree with that. Free will. My lack of funds and ability to use Patreon right now is not the Reactor's fault. Okay. Reactors keep the discussion alive. That's a really interesting way to put it. And that kind of goes back to the little, see the graphic that I worked so hard on? Like, these are all little energy pockets of just a little buzz, little Army buzz, Stays buzz, 18 buzz, Moo buzz. Yeah, this is a lot of data, right? And it's hard to put them in one discussion, as Leanne says. You're right. But also, like I said in the beginning, we're not going to solve all of this in one go. We're not. But I really do feel like there's just a lot of information that floats around that people just don't have. Can I be Army if I am a multi? I think so. But not everyone agrees with me. Oh, Joyce, you're one step ahead of me. Now, if I can go back, I want to show you. Let's see here. Actually, I'm not going to do that. You remember the chart that I showed you? Remember the pizza chart? I know you do because you were so excited. The pizza chart talked about the different teams that Army can find themselves in. You know what? I am going to go back to it. I want to. It's important. I want to see the pizza again. Pizza. Yes. Okay. Here we are. We have recruiting, exposure, community, funding, streaming, social media, voting. Me as a reactor, here's where I think I fit into this puzzle. Me personally, not every reactor, me personally. I think exposure, because sometimes another fandom will come watch an episode of a BTS reaction, right? And they go, oh, these guys are pretty damn good. This cat's handsome and he has no body fat. I'm going to watch him and I'm going to watch BTS. So I think that this channel offers some level of exposure for BTS. Community. We have what I think is a phenomenal community, not only here on YouTube, but in Discord and Twitch, for that matter. Funding. Now, I accidentally called it capital, but it's supposed to be funding. Show support by purchasing merch, concert tickets, raising money in some way. Because of the reactions going to Hybe, I consider myself part of the funding team. I also buy merch. Now, yes, a lot of what you see, most of what I have has been gifts from other ARMY, but I still show support where I can. Buying albums, buying merch. I buy gifts for people, like whatever. Now, I stream, but I don't stream like a machine like some of you. Of course, social media, yes. I have not done any voting yet. And then, of course, recruiting, I'm going to be grabbing ARMY left and right. So I think just by nature, being a reactor, you are offering some level of assistance to the fandom and to the support of BTS just by being a reactor. But I also don't think it's crucial that you do all of these things to be considered ARMY. I don't. That's my personal opinion. I just don't. And Alpaca makes a good point. Just because I don't promote voting doesn't mean that the Discord doesn't. And apparently, I know like AN specifically promotes voting. So, like, maybe I don't, but the community does. And the reason I so openly tell you in the middle of this discussion that I don't vote is because I do other things. To me, if you're the type of person that just says like, you are not ARMY if you're not voting or if you're not streaming, if you're not promoting. Okay. Okay. I can still have a drink with you. I can still be respectful with you. I just disagree. That's all. I'm okay with it. I love my boys. All right, moving right along. Should have made a, man, I should have made a soundtrack. That would have been so dope. Get it? Dope. That's how you know I'm ARMY. I make BTS jokes. Okay, I think we're just about there. Yes, I was hoping you wouldn't know that it was a slide presentation. I was trying to be so fancy. I had my transitions. I don't make dad jokes. Are you leaving this up? Diva, I am absolutely going to leave this up. I made sure not to use copyrighted content because I wanted this to be left on YouTube. Yeah, this actually is a PowerPoint. I just didn't want you to know. Afnan, this is Google Slides. This is all Google. Mods, can we get Titch? Can we just get Titch out of here? It's not accomplishing anything. Thank you. All right. Now, I am going to circle back to ARMY in the end because even though I used the discussion that was thrown live, I wanted to use that as a baseline for this conversation. this part here, I think, is important. Very important. Now, before I kick it off, I want to check something, please. Okay. As I said, the reason I wanted to do this is because I love our fandom. I love who we are and how we support each other. And I do not like when these rifts occur. I'm not against rifts. As John said, I'm against how this was done. And I'll get to that. But there's one of the problems with this and its delivery was the fact that this is a recurring thing. This is a cycle. So as usual, I went full BU on this. And here's what I put together. This is, again, just information. And this is the point where I'm going to give you my opinion, and then you can take it for what it's worth, okay? But I will at least show you how I arrived at this opinion. Now, I have permission to do this for this reason right here.
But this is a predatory behavior. You can be a good person and still do something that's not cool. I'm going to call it out. I don't think that's cool. You can call me out if you think I'm doing something that's not cool. That's fair.
You can call me out too if you think I'm doing something that's not cool. Okay. Okay. You can't hear it. I apologize. I was worried that that would be a bit low. Did you hear that or no? Do I need to fix that? Do I need to boost it up a bit? I don't know if I can actually. You heard it? Okay. So basically just saying if I'm doing something and you feel like you need to call me out, call me out. That's fair. Okay. I will do my best to make sure you get that.
But this is a predatory behavior. You can be a good person and still do something that's not cool. I'm going to call it out. I don't think that's cool. You can call me out if you think I'm doing something that's not cool. That's fair.
That's fair. Okay.
But this is a predatory.
Now, this is one of Shicky's community posts. I have the date, but it's not relevant. It's recent. In that post, he says, a dynasty can be rebuilt if it's destroyed from the outside, but it is forever gone when crumbled from the inside. I agree with that 100%. And that's why I'm doing this. Some of you would consider yourselves part of the social media team. So when incidents occur, like Suga's incident, a lot of you stepped up and you went hard on diffusing that situation where you were able to block other news accounts and all kinds of. It was magnificent how that was orchestrated. That's perfect. When you, as Army, start to shift your focus, it's pretty incredible. To have somebody on the inside creating division, I'm not a fan of it. And again, he says, people might not agree with me or my methods, but I will call out behavior that seems harmful, and I expect the same to me from you guys. Okay. Let's go timeline, shall we? Timeline. October 28th, Shicky posted a video called BTS Reactors Don't Care About BTS, Only Themselves. Let me say that title again for you. BTS reactors don't care about BTS, only themselves. October 28th. On November 3rd, a community post where Shiki apologized for what he did, the way he went about it. On November 9th, the Murasan family agreed to promote voting more. Not at all, more.
It'd be awesome if you guys click the link down below for Vote for the Mama, and we did it on our last video as well. We'll continue to promote voting more and more every single video here on out. We said that in the last video that we did upload to YouTube. So yeah, we just want to keep it going, and I think it's gonna be a healthier relationship. You know what I'm saying?
So after this whole thing came out, Murasan family said, okay, fine. Now, my understanding based on what Shiki told me in DMs and what the Murasans have said is that this week right here, the Murasans spoke with Shiki for 4 to 5 hours about this whole thing. And they agreed, okay, we'll promote voting more. Okay. And they agreed. This is just part of the timeline. That's all. Andy, that's not true. It was only for the Patreon reactors. That is not true at all. I can assure you it's not true. I have the graphs and data to prove it. November 10th. Another community post, and Shiki strives to do better. He wants to be better. On the 12th, he goes live. Oh, no, sorry, it was a video. Let's talk voting, growth, and reactors changing for the better. But did he include in the graphs reactors without Patreons? Yes, he did. You say no. Yes, he did. So on the 12th, he does the video that talks about voting, growth, and reactors changing for the better. Got it. The next day is when the live happens, reactor tier list live stream. And that's when he takes a whole bunch of reactors, some BTS, some multi-fandom, and just kind of ranks them, basically. November 13th. On the 15th, 2 days later, is when I publicly invite him to a live discussion. He joins the chat, he agrees, and that's that. The next day, he DMs me to set a chat time. He wants to talk privately. I refuse. I ask him to provide a date and a time ASAP. He agrees. The next day, he hides all but 2 of his live streams, and those 2 are from a very long time ago. On the 19th, he goes live, and his users ask him about the missing live streams. He deflects. On the 24th, I ask him to provide a date and a time before the end of next weekend, which is now. He community posts about being hurt. He posts a community goals or a post video about streaming. And then he tells me yesterday he can't make it, but go ahead and have a good stream. So that is just a timeline. Okay. That is all of it at a moment's notice. Boom. Here it is. There are pieces of this. And the reason I did this was not to convince you of anything. This was me stepping back and going, am I seeing this wrong? Like, do I already have an idea in my brain and I'm just confirming it with my own emotions? I need to see this visually and see if I'm overreacting. So I did this. Now, it seemed like good information, so I thought, well, maybe other people should see it too. So what is a fan?
So ask yourself this. What is a fan? How do you support the people that you love? If it's a person in your life, you support them by being there, by showing love, by helping them when you can. There's a lot of different ways you can show support to a person.
Did you get all that? There's a lot of different ways that you can show support to a person. Now, we already kind of talked about this. We talked about it from the BTS perspective, ways that you can support BTS. Well, there's also ways you can support your reactors and all that good stuff. Okay.
So ask yourself.
Now, here's one of the points that I am very confused by. I want you to listen very closely. He's talking about BTS reactor channels versus the multi-stand channels.
And these guys are worse than multi-stand channel.
BTS reactor channels are worse than multi-stand reactor channels.
And these guys are worse than multi-stand channel reactions because at least those channels, they're upfront and honest about it. They're not trying to pretend to be something they aren't. Some of them did, yeah, like go with like BTS in the start and then switch up. But there are some channels that are like, hey, we just like K-pop. We listen to everything. Everything and everything. You know what you're getting into here. But these guys, they're targeting ARMY only. Some of them have gone into 17, so I'm just warning you. If you like 17 as well, be careful.
Now, this doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense to me because I don't think that BTS reaction channels and multi-stand channels are any different. I feel like everybody knows kind of what you're getting into, right? And I could be wrong, but like, I want you to tell me if you think that I'm wrong here. Like, legitimately. Like, you kind of know what you're getting into. Regardless of which fandom you come from, you see a reaction, you watch the reaction, and then it just kind of branches up from there and you go as far as you can. Now, again, I want to be really specific here, okay? I'm using his words and this timeline for a very specific reason. I always say, and this goes for anybody that is either new to this channel or new to me, new to the Discord, whatever. I always tell people, do not engage. If somebody comes in hot at me, don't engage. Just let me know. And then I'll handle it from there, face to face, directly. Right? I don't want to try and mobilize you against anybody. I want to make that really, really clear. If you decide that you want to support somebody on Patreon, support them. If you don't. This is literally an entire presentation on the fact that every single person watching, not watching, supporting ARMY, not supporting, stays 18, makes a decision at the end of the day on how they want to support the people that they want to support. That's it. You have to be careful of the reactors who use the fandoms just to get likes. You're right, you do.
And these guys.
It'd be awesome if you guys click the link down below for Vote for the Mama, and we did it on our last video as well. We'll continue to promote voting more and more every single video here on out. We said that in the last video that we did upload to YouTube. So yeah, we just want to keep it going, and I think it's gonna be a healthier relationship. You know what I'm saying? So.
Now, that was the Murasans and their post on whatever it was, the 9th or whatever, where they said, hey, we're going to try to do better. We're going to promote voting more and streaming and all that.
So the reason why I appreciate this much is these guys didn't wait a second. Like, these guys literally implemented it immediately. I just want to say thank you. This is a great beginning of unifying and creating a movement where we're just like spreading the word out.
Unifying is the point that I don't like here. I disagree with that. This, to me, this whole thing does not feel unifying at all. At all. It feels contradictory to that. Unifying to me would be like, hey, let's try to understand where we're all coming from. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's figure this out. Or even at the very least, let's agree to disagree. You want to vote? Vote. I'm going to encourage you to vote because I'm going to work on community. That's how I see it.
Maxinese family, putting it in a comment, that's a good first step. Colombian Cousin Wives put this in their comments a couple of days ago, but there's nothing on their newest video. So I am hoping that it is not just a temporary thing. It is not just like, hey, let's just do this real quick and be done with it, but like it becomes more of a consistent thing.
So here you have a collection of people, at least a couple people, that said, okay, I hear you, I'll do it. And they did it. And then it still was not enough. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't enough, right? This does not fly with me. Nobody, regardless of Reactor or Twitter account or whatever, should be the arbiter of all that is good and right. I don't see anything as a requirement for you to love BTS. I don't. And for those of you that are here that are followers of Shiki, like, I respect that. You have your community, you have your family, we have our community. There's going to be some overlap. I know some of you follow Shiki. I don't care. I don't care about that. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm saying the things that should have been said in the discussion and questions that I have. I'm calling out behavior that I think is harmful to the fandom. But ideally, hopefully, I'm doing it in a way that is not just emotion-based. You see how I logically got here. Not all of you will agree with me, and I respect that. But even if I do seem like I'm being firm and I'm being assertive, it doesn't mean I'm attacking the guy. I just really disagree with how this was done. And I don't want to see it done again because it has been done before, and I think it will be done again.
Maxinese family.
Now, here's where I'm going to get a little darker. This is a list of all the people that were on the tier list. This is everybody. Do I believe that exploitation of fandoms exist? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. Do you agree or disagree? Do you think that anywhere, whether it's here on the picture or on Twitter, Instagram, any social media, do you think that exploitation of fandoms is a thing that occurs? I mean, it's fairly unanimous that yes, it does. Exploitation is not only about money or access. And when I say access, I mean like paywalls and Patreons and things like that. When I showed you the numbers behind the YouTube, ideally you can see that there's not a lot of money to be had on YouTube. So this stuff does cost money. So yes, it's nice to make money doing this. Absolutely. asking people to support you in that way, I don't think is exploitative. People are of their own choice making that decision. However, this is where I'm going to come in hot for a second with my hot take. Drama farming is a form of exploitation. I'm going to say that again. I don't want you to miss the point. Drama farming is a form of exploitation. We see this in a lot of different ways. We see it on Twitter. We see it with, all kinds of social media. We see it with news outlets, some of these big names, drama farming. People that stir things up, because the more emotion people feel, the more likely things are to go viral. Drama farming. This is a form of exploitation. Rage bait, clickbait titles. There's any number of ways this can be done. Your facts and logic feels highly emotional to me. That is fair. We are at the emotional part. This is the part where I tell you this is my opinion. Shiki is not at all about division. Okay. Now, I'll actually hit on that. Caro. Do I think he's trying to create division? Directly, no. Indirectly, is it a symptom of this every time it happens? Yes. That's my opinion. Doesn't that just mean you fell for the bait then? Oh, I like that. Rebecca, I like you. If I were to come at this from a defensive point of like, Shiki talked bad about me and I have to defend myself, then yes, I would say I taked? Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. I took the bait. Wow. Oh man, let me get some water. Taked. No, the reason I think this is important is because this conversation needs to be had from a lot of different angles. Not just one. You're not hearing one side of the coin. Right? One side of the conversation. As I've said before, and most of you probably never heard this, I don't really care about standing up for myself. Standing up for others is where I kind of draw a line. And I see what happens to people in moments like this, especially in a community like Army that I love so dearly. So if I will absolutely stand up and say, okay, hold on a second. There's more to this story, then that's what we're going to do. These platforms that we have, YouTube, Twitch, Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of the above, they do come with a responsibility. That is not just for the reactor. That is for the viewers as well. Every single one of you has a responsibility to, due diligence. You have to be the one to make an educated call on how you feel and how you are going to support somebody. Now, some of you, again, even after all this, you still feel the same way you felt when you came in. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. But these responsibilities are not just of reactors. It's everybody. Army being 90 million people, that's 90 million opportunities to do some good in the world. That's how I see this. If you want to use your platform to promote voting, rock on. If you want to promote exposure, like, hey, we're going to watch BTS all month. And then we get new people coming in. We got more Army. Now we're at 100 million. I love it. But the same way that I choose how I use my platform, you all choose how you how you invest in BTS. It's the exact same thing. Yeah, 90 million viewpoints too. An army does so much good. We try to do so much good here. Whether it's giveaways, we do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like I could make a call, shoot that couch signal up, and I could tell you it'd be a whole bunch of people say, yep, couch did something for me. Yep, couch did something for me. And that's part of the responsibility of having a platform like this. But that same responsibility, it is so important that if you are going to stand up and say X, Y, and Z, you do it from an educated standpoint. This is how I got here. This is how I feel. Boom. You don't just launch a bomb in the middle of a family and then walk away. When I watched the live stream, the word primos was thrown around like a 4-letter word. Does anybody know who primos are? Now, I didn't know, to be fair. So here on the couch, we have couch crew. That's kind of how people identify that they're part of this village. They're couch crew. The channel Colombian Cousins and Wives, their couch crew are primos. So while this live stream was happening, a lot of the chatters were saying, yeah, we got a bunch of primos in here. Yeah, primos, gross. And essentially using primos to say that anybody who defends a reactor that they support is gross. It's bad. I think primos are doing what humans do. Army stands up and defends BTS if needed because they love BTS. Why would you not expect people who love a reactor and support a reactor to stand up and defend when called upon, right? They protect what they care about. A primo is somebody who is a follower or subscriber to the YouTube channel Colombian Cousins and Wives. Primo means cousin in Spanish. Thank you, Rosanna. So I found that odd, but I think it's really clear that, like, if you encounter a primo in the wild, they are not the enemy by default. Couch crew are not the enemy. Watcher fam, Nico's family, they are not the enemy. Genosaurs are not the enemy. Our own, like the army bots, John Reeves, army, are not the enemy. This type of energy happening within the fandom is not good. We do not need to be looking inwards at each other and creating this level of fighting and anger when we have a lot of shit to do. We've got voting, we got streaming, we got all this kind of stuff, exposure and communities and merch. We have things to focus on. But we are not the enemy within ourselves. Going back to this point right here, there's a lot of different ways that you can support BTS. There's a lot of different ways that you can support the reactor that you love. Every piece of this puzzle, in my opinion, is equal. Some of you disagree, and that's fine. Some of you think that you should at least do this, at least do this. Totally get it. Totally get it. The way that I kind of throw this down goes back to these communities that are built within Army. There's a bunch of little families and there's a bunch of overlap. If right here is the Gino, here's Gino and here's Nico and here's little Roscoe down here, all these little families, a lot of you guys go from me, and then I send you to Gino for babysitting, and you go over to Gino, a bunch of little toddlers, and then you go over to Nico, and you go down to the Murasans, and it's okay. Nobody's trying to stop you. I mean, they shouldn't be. As long as you love BTS, you're ARMY, and you do what you can do. That's it. That's it. And a lot of you, through this whole chat, a lot of you are okay saying, here's what I think ARMY means. Here's what I think a reactor should and shouldn't do. Understand that every single person in the chat has those criteria. Every single one of them. It's a personal decision. I would agree with the gatekeeping aspect of the conversation if these things were actually kept behind locked doors and nobody had access. But everybody has access to these pieces of content for free. Everybody. Now, a lot of you are kind of missing the point in what I just said, and you're saying, well, but no, if you have a Patreon and it's locked behind the content, it's not free. Yes, but the content itself is free. You're paying to watch the entertainment of the reactor. That's all. The one last thing I want to point out, and I'm going to go back quite a bit. I want to point out to you is going back to this definition of reactor. In the very beginning, what it means to be a reactor. Sorry, this is so unprofessional. I'm such a turd biscuit. Some of you are writing down turd biscuit right now. Please don't do that. All right, reactor. A person who films themselves experiencing something for the first time. Their genuine facial expressions, commentary, and emotions create an engaging experience for viewers. Now, that is our role as a reactor. Yes, but if you notice the little graphic that I so cleverly hid on the side of the slide, not just for aesthetic purposes, but the second part of this definition of a reactor says something that controls and contains a chain reaction to release energy which can be used to generate electricity. Our little worlds of communities that are built within the fandom create buzz. They create trust. So it's important for people like me that are in this role to assure you that you can trust me. That takes time. That takes investment. Part of what I don't like about how this conversation took place is that initially the gauntlet was thrown, and then private conversations happened, and then in those conversations, opinions changed. If you'd had those conversations first, you might have avoided all of this nonsense. Maybe the fact that every one of these channels is different, and every one of these channels is this little community of people, and there are people that are happy there. Some of them can afford to support, some of them can't. If 90% of a reactor's content is available for free, but 10% allows them to keep doing what they're doing for an extended period of time, that makes perfect sense to me. Doing all of this is not free. So over time, these communities will die off because it takes money, it takes time, it takes effort. Now, here's what I will tell you. When I say exploitation absolutely exists in these fandoms, yes, It does. Am I saying that everybody who was called out should be considered free and easy and they've done nothing wrong? Hell no. Hell no. When I put together this whole thing, I got to see behind some of the curtain myself. I got to look into some of these people myself, and I made my own educated decision. But it took research for me to do that. Right? Like I said, I know we're not going to solve this today. But here's what I want to prevent in the future. I want you to think about this. If you're anything like me, sometimes just the right trigger can set you off and you get emotional. So whether it's mad, sad, happy, but usually a negative emotion. Something just, ooh, I get so mad, my mustache is falling off. It happens. But when that takes place, especially around being Army and being in the fandom, I want you to try to step back and take a look at what's happening. If you feel like it's negative, it's bad, give it a look. You know how sometimes when you deal with a kid and they act up, sometimes if you ignore them, they'll just stop doing the shit. You just don't give them any mind. Don't pay them any mind. Because they'll just wear themselves out and they don't get what they want. Now, I didn't do that this time because this is the one time that I feel like it needs to be done. If this continues to happen in the same way every 6 to 12 months, hopefully now people will see, oh, why is this actually happening? And rather than it just be an emotional discussion, which it always is, I wanted to provide you with numbers and data to support. Now, is all of my stuff 100% accurate? No, there's so many variables to this that I'm sure I got something wrong. But if it at least helps you see the bigger picture of what's happening and the fabric of how this all works, like, I think that's really important. Now, let's see here. Let me bring you somewhere. Okay. Back up a little bit. Perfect. Yeah, I don't want you to think that I'm looking for you to defend me. That's not what I'm looking for. Now, listen very closely.
You guys are so lucky. You guys really are. Not because you met them in particular. It's because you guys found something that makes you so happy in your life. You're able to enjoy them and all its smallest and biggest happiness. There's so much involved, and so many people are unable to see it. Most people are unable to see it, you know? But you are. For you, it must be like, yo, why can't everyone see this? Why can't my mom or why can't my sister see what I'm seeing? But you guys are able to see that and enjoy it. And it's not just like some superficial level. It's very, very deep. Very deep, you know? It affects your life, your everyday life, your thoughts. You have someone or someones in your heart that you carry with you and wherever you where we go. Not a lot of people have that. You're lucky because you're able to see beyond that. And I also feel so lucky. I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I got here, for real. But I got here through them, you know? And I met you guys. And I feel so lucky. I know.
Now, the reason I wanted to show you that is for a couple reasons. One, a couple things he says it's not a superficial level, it's very deep, and not a lot of people have that. Now, Gino really articulately explains what it means to be Army. You literally watch somebody explain the feeling that comes from being Army. But the same way that Gino articulates how he feels because he loves BTS, there are so many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that feel the same way about their little communities. Whether it's Couch Crew, or it's Genosaurs, it's Army Bots. Anyone that tries to create a division in this, absolutely not. And here's the second reason I wanted to show you this. Around this discussion about reactors and Patreon and all this stuff, Gino and I do not see eye to eye. We don't. But guess what? I can still have a conversation with Gino. I can still have dinner with Gino. I can let him order me pizza and send it to my house. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. It doesn't need to be an all or nothing thing. Yeah, we're all connected. Like, do we get upset sometimes? Of course we do. But you agree to disagree and you move on. Because here's what kills me.
You guys are so lucky.
That's enough, Gino.
And you know what? I don't want to hear none of these channels, if BTS wins a prize, yeah, we did it. Like, you're gonna bask in the glory, but you don't wanna be part of the process.
I think if we go back to this mentality of understanding we all fit into this family in some way. Some of you fit into all these baskets. Some of you fit into one basket. Some of you are so new, you have no idea what's going on. There's no wrong way. Our connection as Army is shared. Our victories should be shared too. I would love to be involved in this family of reactors. Army, multis, stays, moo-moos, alphas, I don't care. Where if the voting team wins an award, hey, props to the voting team. You guys kicked ass. Sorry I wasn't a part of it, but I was doing my thing over here. I was focused on exposure. I was focused on community. I was streaming. That's what I want to be a part of. I want to be like, hey, props to the voting team. This channel, you guys kicked ass. That's what I'm talking about. That's the world that I want to live in. Our energy should not be focused inwards. It should be focused in the right direction. Some of you are absolute marauders. I'm aware of this. You're aware of this. That energy, we need to focus that in the right direction. I'm not saying you can't go hot on somebody. Make it the right person. Yeah. Just focus a little bit. In the song Lights, it says, decide for yourself what it means to be happy. Decide for yourself what it means to be happy. Now, if you don't believe me and what I say, if we're talking about BTS, these are their words. You have to decide for yourself. Now, that also means that your responsibility is to figure out who you're going to support and in what way. Whether that's monetarily, it's just support, it's clicking a like on a video. There are so many ways you can support all of the people in your life that you want to support. And it doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't. I really believe that everybody's doing their best. That's what I think. Everybody's doing their best. Yeah, not everyone can do everything. Because even if you end up with somebody that is doing all 7 things and they're streaming 20 hours a day, there's going to be somebody else who goes, bro, I did all 7 and then I streamed 21 hours. Pick it up. Come on, man. Suga said himself, you don't have to buy our merch. Your love is enough. I mean, I feel like it's illegal to disagree with Yoongi, so I'm gonna leave that one. I agree wholeheartedly. As Shiv says, it's exhausting. It is exhausting. This conversation is exhausting. So here's what I would ask of you. This conversation is not going to go away. It's not. Just because we did this and 300 plus of you were here and you participated, some of you maybe got some more information you didn't have. Some of you feel no differently than when you came. Doesn't matter. Just because we've done this doesn't mean there's going to be this big cultural shift. But at the very least, I want you to know and at least see that there is always more to the story. There is always another side of the coin. There is always a way to have a conversation. And also, if you're going to step out there and start launching missiles at people and families and communities, you better be ready to stand up and have that conversation. Because every time this happens, it's a crack. It's a fault line. I'm willing to say, like, I'm not doing it. I made very clear when I posted this invitation that if the conversation did not happen voice to voice, I was going to say my 2 cents and then I'm closing the door. This is not going to be drama farming. It's not going to be a back and forth with videos. I've said my piece. You know where I stand, and I brought the numbers and the data to support it. I want to thank all of you who showed up today and participated in this conversation. It's extremely complex. It's extremely difficult. There are so many variables involved that we can't tackle everything today. But you can see how this works. I had to come to this decision alone years back now when not a lot was translated and known. I had to realize I was Army. I had to realize I wasn't a useless Army. Please let anyone who reads this know loving them is enough. Thank you, Joe. That's a really sweet way to put it. Loving BTS and loving your group of choice is enough. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And the truth is, I'm going to tell you this right now. Am I here doing this because I love BTS? Yes. But am I also here doing this because I love Army? Yes. This conversation is long overdue. I will also throw out to you that if you ever have questions about something that somebody throws out there and you want some clarification, don't be afraid to jump in the Discord and ask. We're all on the same team. Thank you, Tasia. All on the same team. You make your decisions, you figure out what you're going to do, and then you go with it, and you stand by it. But just like my cup says, we look out for each other because we still have a very long journey ahead of us. Yes, Tad makes a really good point. Please do not go to Shiki or any other channels that have been discussed and start throwing shade for he said this, you said that. We are not promoting a hate war. What we are doing is closing the circle on this conversation because half the conversation was had and that was it. This is another half of that conversation. If somebody else, a reactor somewhere, wants to say their 2 cents, they're fine in doing so. But I've said my 2 cents, and as soon as I close this live stream, we're going to carry on with what we normally do, because we have lots to do. Thank you, Lisa. Who did I miss? Who did I miss? Who was that? Jin Jen, thank you, buddy. See, now you can see why I did this. I wanted to get rich. Thank you, Lisa. I wanted to get rich with all the things. Yeah, no hate. Here's the thing, if you go back, if anybody goes back and they start like, blah, 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 you're losing the whole point of this. Five pizzas tonight. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that. Yes, that was sarcasm. Jojo, you're going to be the sarcasm alert. Yeah, unity. One of our biggest things here on the couch is community, and you can't have that without unity. Dad joke, cue the gin shield wipers. Oh, I wish I had that on a soundbite. That would have been dope. Damn it. Thank you for everybody who hung out today. This was really important. I hope it accomplished something. But remember, at the end of the day, you make your own decisions, and part of that is not just who you support and how, it's also where you direct your energy. Redirect your energy into people like Gino, who are very clearly here because he loves BTS and he loves the community. He loves the Genosaurs. I love my couch crew. That is where you should be putting your energy. The more you can support the people that you love, the longer these communities will exist. Buy Lou more ketchup and cake. This feels like a trap. Thank you, Chanel. By the way, I used all the videos in here with no permission. Public domain, bro. I'll throw one last open question. What do you got? That didn't make any sense when I said it. Ray, where the hell have you been? Thank you, Chev. That's very sweet. Ray, I was going to tag you on... Oh, we'll talk about it later. Here we go. Here we go. Fine. Sweet pea. Please clarify. You want me to start over from the top? Jimmy the Swede. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. See, now you know that I just call people by their country. Diva, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. I know you love your Gino, and I do too. So unfortunately, I can't play music because I don't want this to get blocked on YouTube. What? Am I back? What in the... What? I didn't do that! It's not the buttons. It's not. I know you think it is. It's not. Shut up. Oh, I should have left it? Oh. Okay. Sorry. I was going to tag you in Discord, and I just wanted to know where you were because I was worried about you. Okay. Do we know when the next live is? Tommy Ann says. I'll tell you right now. Aside from the usual, like, randoms that we have in the week, because I do whatever I want, it's probably going to be Friday. Lulu, maybe a Fireball Friday? And of course, I'll post it on Twitter. We'll throw the Discord alarms and all that stuff. Is this the real Roscoe? Yeah, we'll shoot for a Fireball Friday if Lulu's up for it. Yeah. Okay. All right, folks. Well, as usual, thank you for joining me today. This was incredibly important, and I'm glad we had not just the usual heathens around. I'm Roscoe. I'm here. Maybe someday I'll be your buddy. But look out for each other because we still have a long journey ahead of us. Welcome to the couch.